Well, hi everyone. Welcome to another Facebook Live interview with MS Insight. I am your host today, Erica Anderson, and we're so excited today to have a special guest, June Halper, the CEO of the Consortium of Multiple Sclerosis Centers. And I'm also joined by our CEO and founder, Wendy Booker. Thank you both for joining us today.
Oh, this is exciting.
Yeah, thanks for having us. It is exciting. I wish we were together, but well, another time.
Well, I think everyone watching totally understands that we've all been thrown into this life of only video for the most part. But I want to introduce you a little bit, June. As I said, you're the CEO of the Consortium of Multiple Sclerosis Centers. That's a mouthful.
CMSC, just as
yes, CMSC. That would be easier.
Right, yeah.
You have a very long and impressive bio. I'm going to touch on some of those things quickly before we get into some questions. But you are a certified adult nurse practitioner who has specialized in multiple sclerosis since 1978. You have been in you have written numerous publications, including the Comprehensive Nursing Care and Multiple Sclerosis and Advanced Concepts in Nursing Care in Multiple Sclerosis. So it's a lot. She's a member.
Tired already.
You are a member of the American Academy of Nurse Practitioners, the founding director of IOMSN, the International Organization of MS Nurses, and the recipient of IOMSN's first June Halper Award for Excellence in Nursing and Multiple Sclerosis. There's so much more about you, June, I could say, but I think I'll stop there for now. We'll link to your bio.
Good, that's it.
Yes. So, we're so honored to have you here today. We know you've been such a force in this MS world for so many years. You've done so much good for patients and providers. And so I would love if you could just sort of give us a brief history of you, how you got into this, and why it is such an important part of your life.
Well, I actually moved from New York City. I'm a New Yorker by birth, and we moved out here to northern New Jersey. And it was the time of women's lib, and I decided I needed to go back to school. My husband was a physician at that time, and I thought we would open a practice together. I really wanted to become a nurse practitioner. I'd read all about it. And somehow or other, during one of my semesters, I went to stay at the MS Society to do 3-month rotation, and the rest is history. I never did open a private practice with him. But we developed programs at the society, and then we went on and ran an MS center for about 25 years. And then somehow or other, I ended up as the CEO of the CMSC and the IOMSN, and I love it. I think the first day I started working in MS, I fell in love with the people. I fell in love with the challenge. I even fell in love with this horrible disease because I figured there was just so much we could do to help people. And I felt that the role of the nurse, at least at that time, was very under-recognized. And now, of course, not just nursing, but rehab, mental health, as well as neurologists are recognized as the vital part of MS team approach. And that's what the CMSC represents.
And when you started way back then, did you have a vision at that time? Did you ever imagine it would become what it's become now?
Well, my vision was comprehensive care at the time. And just around 1986, a number of neurologists got together and formed the consortium, and they had a similar vision. My vision was unitary, in other words, at my MS center, but their vision was North American, and then it became worldwide. Where they founded the consortium, and the consortium now, as you know, has grown and developed. But let's not discount the advent of disease-modifying therapies in the early 90s. I mean, that's really what made a difference. Centers sprung up all over the country, all over Canada, United States, throughout the world, actually, much more so in North America than the rest of the world. But the team approach, because MS is a disease of the whole person. So it's not just an injection at the beginning or a pill now or an infusion. It's the other things that come along, the family issues, the symptomatic problems, adjusting to a chronic illness when you're 21 years old. And all these things challenged me to try to figure out systems of care that would work for people with MS without intruding too much on their lives. We don't want them to become engaged in the medical model where they forget about the rest of their lives. And I think we've been fairly successful with it. And of course, the success is definitely documented by the growth of the CMSC and internationally by the IOMSN.
Mm-hmm. And I know, Wendy, you've been familiar with CMSC for a long time. Like, how have you seen the work that they're doing be beneficial to this community that you're a part of?
Well, backing up, I think June and I met when she was still at the Gimbel Center for MS, way back before June started with CMSC. The fun for me, I lucked out in that I got on the disease modifying therapy almost at the day I was diagnosed. I was diagnosed in the mid-90s. And so I got to see that wave of change. With that, of course, has come the growth of CMSC, and not just the growth, but the information that they're now giving is far more comprehensive. It already was, but now it's beyond comprehensive. Their annual conference is really leading what is to the patient, what is getting through those nurses. And I was going to comment too that what I've noticed is the nurse's value is so great because a patient, myself included, is far more likely to speak to their nurse in depth more than their treating physician. Partly because the treating physician is busy, he has a lot of patients. That nurse will take a lot of time with that MS patient. And so that's why I really value that the nurses get to CMSC, they get that information and they bring it back to their patients. So it's a really cohesive agreement and we are benefiting from it. So yes, the growth, how old is CMSC now?
CMSC was born in 1986, so it's
86. So there.
Don't count my math at this hour. Yeah, I think it's 30 some odd years old.
Yeah.
The beauty of this whole thing is that at the beginning, the pharmaceutical industry, when they started getting their drugs approved, right from the get-go, started using nurses as injection training at the beginning, if you remember, Wendy. But the nurses are on board even if the patient is taking a pill or an infusion therapy. So the nurse has really become a prominent role within industry as well as through the centers. And it's something that I'm very proud of. There's medical science liaisons, clinical science liaisons, and of course, there's a number of new drugs coming down the pike. And the first thing they're doing is getting nurses involved. So it's an amazing thing. And while the pharmaceutical industry is not involved in the provision of care, they become very engaged in our model of care, which I think is a wonderful testament to what we've accomplished over the past years. And of course, Wendy is probably downplaying her role, but from the beginning, she was a spokesperson, not necessarily of a particular drug, but of wellness and activity and exercise and keeping fit.
Yeah.
And she still, and because of her and her work over the years, there are many people that have come forward, including many nurses that have espoused the whole model of wellness. You're not sick when you have MS, you have a neurologic problem, but you also can stay well and healthy.
Yeah, June and I have grown together, I have to say, because when I was diagnosed, they were not advocating for exercise for fear that we would get overheated and it would cause an exacerbation or a flare-up of our symptoms. We now know that staying active, and it doesn't have to be physically, again, it can be mentally, emotionally, but to bring the patient to that place where they can go on living is also a key part of what CMSC is doing.
Absolutely.
That whole person is so recognized, and the team approach, as June said, of what it takes for an MS patient to go on living is the easiest way to say it, to face this disease and say, what can I be? What can I become? Also, the care partner is a key part. There's so many components to that team that CMSC both recognizes, advocates for, and educates. And we as the patient are the recipient of it. So it's a wonderful symbiotic relationship.
Yeah, the past couple of years, actually, we've had patient programs in conjunction with the CMSC. Unfortunately, this year, we've had to cancel, but we did the patient program. It was actually live online, run by Dr. Randy Shapiro, who's a big proponent of wellness. And so, we're hoping next year we'll be in San Diego in 2021, but who knows? Who knows? But at this point in time, we're probably going to have to plan for some virtual component just in case. because we don't know what June 1st a year from now is going to be looking like. And then the economy may not allow 2,500 people to go to a large meeting. So we'll see.
June, I was going to ask you, I know, so much of your work is with the professionals and the healthcare professionals in this space. But thinking of the patients, what are some of, or maybe one thing that you would most want to communicate to them if they're watching right now, some of the work that you're doing? What might you want them to know?
Sure. Well, in the centers, they're patients. When they're out in the community, they're people living with MS. And I like to hear from them all the time. And it's not what I can do for them or what the CMSC can do for them. It's what we need to hear from them as far as what they need: education, wellness exercises, more programs such as we've done at the annual meeting. So I know that, it's years ago, I would have said in 1978, we want treatments. Today, we've got the treatments, but then there's so much else that we know that people with MS are lacking. So I would rather hear from them, maybe through this broadcast, to try to find out what programs or services they need so we can help them move ahead and put MS in its place, that it's not MS is their persona, but MS is just part of their lives.
Yeah, definitely. Now, I want to ask both of you this question. Just, we've been going through the time of COVID since basically February or March, and
Right.
People that are sick, or not sick, but people that have health conditions like MS are affected even more so than a normal person that's just living their daily life. And so how have you seen COVID affect MS patients, and what is your sort of, I guess, advice or encouragement to them in this time?
Actually, we have a registry through the CMSC with the National MS Society called COVIMS, COVIMS. And what we're finding is the statistics are pretty much represent the general population. It doesn't seem that MS is making people with MS get COVID more frequently. It's pretty consistent in terms of the percentage-wise. And I hate to say it, the death rate is not any greater in the population that we're seeing. The one thing we are seeing, though, that is seen in the general population is people with comorbidities such as obesity, smoking, diabetes, or other underlying health conditions are probably much more likely to have complications and end up hospitalized. So just like we've been doing in MS, I would like to ask everyone out there, not just people with MS, stop smoking, watch your weight, see your doctors, get yourself checked out. And God, please wear masks and
I was going to say that too.
Yeah, please. Yeah. This is not a joke. I don't care what anybody out in the powerful Washington, D.C. says. This is not a joke. We must wear masks. We must socially isolate. We can't have big parties. And we have to watch the news or read the newspaper and keep up to date, because people with MS shouldn't get sick any more than the general population. They should just be doubly careful because they have another chronic illness.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. How have you seen it affect us, Wendy?
Well, there's so many underlying things. MS can already cause depression, can cause fatigue, can make people want to stay in and stay home, which actually, that's not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing at all. Right?
And right now, but the ironic side is, how do we keep that MS patient from feeling isolated, from feeling depression? I find I've never been a depressed person, and all of a sudden I have to say I feel bouts of depression because I don't know how to make a decision based on COVID. Is it smart to go out? Is it not smart to go out? Just the simplest thing every day takes work. Let's layer a disease like MS onto that. We want to make sure that that MS patient isn't feeling alone, afraid, isolated, and keep them engaged in the community with their friends, however we can all best do it during COVID.
Well, this is the best. This is kind of the best thing to do for them. Online programs such as this program, exercise programs, online exercise. Of course, there is a counseling program that I've heard of right now. And I know a lot of MS centers, most of them, in fact, I know, are doing telehealth. So people with MS are getting the care online. People are learning how to use Zoom. They're learning to use Google, all kinds of Google chat rooms. And I think that we don't love this. I would love to be sitting with you at a table with a cup of coffee. But I think that we're very blessed. What if this happened 50 years ago? people really would be, look at the flu epidemic in early 1918. My God, that must have been awful.
Yeah.
So I think we're very unlucky, but we're very lucky, and we're lucky to have each other. And really, when you think about it.
Well, go ahead, Wendy. Go ahead.
You go. No, you go. You go first.
You go.
All right. June, I know there's so much information flowing, and part of the problem is people are getting what we call COVID brain. And I guess I would love to see how we could work together, how we can get your relevant information, all that you're doing. Because in the past, I've gone to your conference and been able to cover it like the reporter on the street.
Sure.
And I would love to continue that. How can we at MS Insight and work together as proponents for, especially for patient advocacy and education?
Well, we did have several. We canceled our meeting very late in March, and then we were able to put together several annual meetings. We had 18 lectures of an annual meeting. We had an exhibit hall that was online for 2 weeks with a poster tour. And then we had a private session for residents and fellows. And then this past Monday night, we had our summer showcase where people could go and visit the posters and so on. So we're going to keep publishing things online. Our Scholar website is not just for people who work in MS, it's for people living with MS. So go to that website. There's all kinds of programs up, including a recent roundtable that we had on COVID-19 with several doctors, Dr. Fred Foley and Stephanie Agrella. So we'll just keep letting you know what's up there, and we'll keep posting things until we can get back together again in person.
That would be wonderful. We'll do that.
Okay, good.
And I was just going to ask, maybe for both of you to wrap things up, where we are now outside of COVID, what are some of the most hopeful things that you're seeing in the community on the medical side, on the patient side? I would just love to hear that aspect of things from both of you.
Well, the most promising thing from the medical nursing, rehab perspective, it was all the research that's going on. There are several new drugs that are just about ready to be approved. There's one that's actually coming later this month, an injectable. Research is going on in terms of fatigue. I know one drug company is studying fatigue. Another drug company is studying spasticity with the use of a drug with cannabinoid product in it. And then we're understanding a lot more in terms of cognition, how to keep people cognitively intact using online resources such as this to do cognitive rehabilitation. So I'm very hopeful that MS is becoming, I don't know if you remember the deep dark ages of the early 80s when we had HIV/AIDS, and HIV/AIDS was killing a lot of people. But today, because of research and the things that we're doing in MS, they were doing in HIV/AIDS. AIDS has become almost like I've heard called an invisible illness. It's well treated, it's being cared for, and people with HIV/AIDS are very empowered. I see the same thing happening in MS. People are being treated, they're learning more about their disease, they're taking very good care of themselves, and they're staying engaged in the medical healthcare system. And that's my greatest hope. Until the cure, that's the best we could hope for. But I do hope people are going to stay well, take care of themselves, and not get any serious secondary illnesses such as COVID, because we really don't know a lot about it. And it does have central nervous system problems and heart problems and blood vessel problems. So please be safe, wear that mask, stay isolated if you have to, and just be careful. You don't want a secondary problem. MS is enough.
Yeah. Wendy, how about you?
Well, our mission is patients reaching patients, and we plan to do that through social media, through webcasts. Eventually, when the world reopens, we want to cover those conferences in person and get that information to the patient. And June, we would love to partner with you in some way to keep that main channel of communication open, to share the information you have and to get our information to you, and really to make it totally patient-centric, because I know patient advocacy is near and dear to my heart, as it is yours. So if we can be another channel, we will hope to work with all the organizations to get that information back and forth.
Sure. Well, the MS Coalition is another resource. They have a website. And so, you know, we all working together, and I think you're
Yeah.
part of the team now. So welcome aboard.
Yeah, I've always loved it. It's wonderful
Yeah,
to end up in this place. So
that's
having
great.
seen a lot is great. And
Sure.
yeah, we'll continue to be in touch. I'll talk to you once we're not on Facebook Live, but to get more in depth of something that we can work on together. I'd love that.
Sure.
And
Erica, what's your impression of MS? What, you know, from your seat?
My impression?
Yes.
Oh, wow. You know, I didn't know much about it, honestly, before coming to work with MS Insight. I just, you know, if you had asked me, I would have said I thought it was a nerve condition, and just that, you know, I knew I have a friend who has it, and so I knew that some people had it worse than others. But honestly, outside of that, I really didn't know much, and I'm learning a lot as I'm working with MS Insight. So it's really interesting.
Well, keep at it, my dear. We need you. We need more
yeah,
of you. Thank
it's,
you.
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I usually become passionate about things that I'm learning about, so I can see that happening.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. Well, thank you for inviting me today. I really
oh,
appreciate
June,
it.
thank you. It's wonderful to see you, even if it's virtually. And I got to
Absolutely.
tell you, on a personal note, June is a powerhouse. When I go to CMSC, there's no time to talk to her. She whips from
I can't imagine with that bio.
There's no, she
Yeah.
is,
I have to tell you, I missed it this year. I really
yeah,
did.
so did I. I
I
really,
hope I hope next year we'll be together in San Diego. Not a
me
bad
too. And the nicest is June, the night it's over, you get your old June back. She is
That's
working
right.
so hard during that conference. And finally, when she's breathing again, it's like, there she is.
Well,
And
I'm
we
so
go
glad.
out and eat sushi that night.
What's that? I know, I missed it. Oh, yeah, we did that night the last night.
That's right.
But I want to tell you that she has dedicated her entire life, and I'm the benefit of somebody like June, who has given so much of her heart and soul and everything to people with MS. And I always say, this ain't your mama's MS, and it's because of people like June that I can live the life I am. So to get that out to other patients, especially to the newly diagnosed, is going to be a fabulous journey for us.
Well,
That's
thank you.
awesome. And so the people that are watching, I know our Facebook page is very new. We have a lot of people on here that are just hearing of us. Many of you probably already know about June and CMSC, but just we encourage you to share this video, share the resources that both of our groups are sharing, and come back. Let us know what you think, who you want to hear from, what you want to talk about. We're glad that you're here. We're thankful to be connected with you, and we'll be doing this on a regular basis. So we'll see you next time on Facebook Live.
Thank you. Okay.